the absolute, probably most important skill that you want to develop as early as possible, and this begins with parenting, I think, if I can be honest, is problem solving skills. I never really talked to my dad about this, but there was always this underlying need to have a conversation with me. It didn't matter if we were finishing the basement, putting up drywall, running electrical, playing chess, memory games with cards, stuff like that. He'd always say things like, well, how do you think you should solve this problem? Or along, some line like that. And if I'm being honest, as I kind of went through my 20s, I didn't really practice that much. When I was a kid, I played a lot of chess. I joined the chess club when I was, in elementary school. It was something to do, and I enjoyed it, and I was good at it. I liked the strategy element of it, the combat element of it. The ability to sort of move pieces around a board, because no two games are alike. Like there's no two moments in life, I think, that are the same. And the sooner that you get used to thinking outside of the box, which is hard to do because society, culture, everything out there is trying to teach you to conform, wants you to cross T's, dot I's, color within the lines. Geography class in school was all about coloring, within the lines. They give you a map, and on the land masses, you would color in green. On the water part, you'd color in, blue, sort of thing. And they had you doing that at a very young age. I don't know if they still do that in schools today, but they don't really encourage outside of the box thinking. They don't encourage ignoring the box and thinking beyond just those boundaries. I think if anything, today still we're trying to convince boys to be as compliant, as agreeable as possible. Like the whole scamdemic thing we dealt with a few years ago was a giant test. It was a giant shit test. It was really there to see what you were made of and whether or not you could, look at a critical issue, a chaotic issue, and say to yourself, hang on a second, let me look at the data. How many people are being infected by this? How many people are not surviving it? What are the outcomes of all this? And asking some questions. And I don't think we ask enough questions. I don't think we challenge things anymore. A lot of the times they try to quash it in the name of anything. Anything. It could be a phobia, an ism, or whatever, whether it's Islamophobia or racism or something or another, asking a legitimate question should be a reasonable thing, for us to do today still, but they try to get you to shut up. But that doesn't stop you from trying to solve problems. I think as a guy, we do better working with our hands, if I'm being honest, and studying and reading and sitting in classrooms and stuff like that. I do enjoy documentaries. I do, still like to listen to some books from time to time. But I think some of the best problem solving skills that I developed, and this translates into entrepreneurship too. Like this is one of the core tenets that I talk about in my course, the School of Entrepreneurship. Let me put the banner up because I keep forgetting to do this at the start of the show. But the School of Entrepreneurship is now available in the School of Unplugged. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But one of the core tenets of success, and the friend of mine that I was having this conversation with about his son is also an entrepreneur. He also believes that the most important skill you need to develop if you want to make money, if you want to have an impact, if you want to be able to build a business and do things more specific to entrepreneurship, is being able to solve problems, because that's all running a business is. It's a constant flurry of things coming at you from all different directions that are problems in your life. How do I solve this? How do I do that? Like even with what I do today, creating content, whether it's in my car, sitting here in my office doing, like a podcast, chopping it up with Moff, or doing a ladies' night show, a lot of it is just like looking at issues and then figuring out a way to remedy them. You can go too far with it, if I'm being honest. A lot of the times when women have an issue, they don't necessarily want a solution to it. They just kind of want to be listened to. So solving their problems probably isn't an ideal use of those skills or resources. But I think within your own life, the fundamental starting point for guys, start as young as possible, especially in your 20s, not 20s and 30s, whatever. Figure out how to solve problems, because every Everything that you want is on the other side of a problem. It truly is. You want more money, it's on the other side of problems. You want more women, it's on the other side of problems. You want to be able to travel more, on the other side of problems, right? The question is how bad do you want it? Because if you want it bad enough, you're going to find a way to solve the problem. If you don't want it bad enough, then you'll find an excuse as to why you didn't solve the problem. All that it boils down to. So the first thing that I want to start out with, and I can move past it now, is just solving problems, getting really good at solving problems. And if you're a parent, you got a young kid, start with something like Connect 4. Very easy game. They're under the age of 5. Very straightforward. Just get 4 checkers pieces in a row off this vertical axis thing, and like you win the game. Older than 4 or 5, you can start teaching them chess. There's no reason why you should be one of these loser parents that takes their kids to a restaurant, sits them down, gives a kid a screen and some Bluetooth earbuds, and the kid just sits there and stares at a screen, watching some cartoon entertainment or some nonsense. And we wonder why. Like when I was a kid, there was no autistic kids. When I was a kid, there was no like attention deficit kids. There was no kids on Ritalin or any of those things. You just got on with it, right? Because kids were just taught to deal with these freaking things. Now it's like we put them on these isms and spectrums and all this sort of stuff. Learn how to solve problems. Be a good problem solver in any area of your life. That's what the Unplugged Alpha does. All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the Courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.